I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 16th, brought to you in part by RealMax. RealMax has made a positive impact on countless ranches across the United States and Canada. If you're watching this video on the National Beef Wire, click below to check out some of RealMax case studies or visit realmax.net. A year removed, it was a year ago this date that, at least on this report anyway, I first started talking about things such as fear mongering, panic buying in your grocery stores. Your box beef cutout values started soaring. It was the first day actually that they started going 15 to 20 bucks higher, and it just kept happening day after day after day. It was the first week that we started seeing your feeder cattle auctions having very, very light receipts due to the uncertainty and the fear that was going on. And you know, it seems like yesterday in a way, and it seems like 10 years ago. I mean, it's hard to remember. I told you guys over the weekend I was going to stop by Fort Worth Stockyards District, and it just felt so good to see people enjoying themselves as normal. Everything was normal. You didn't see a lot of weird mask wearing around. You saw big crowds. You saw people mingling and visiting and having a good time, enjoying themselves and not scared of each other. And that was a good thing to see. We're starting to see that more and more all the time. But even in Texas down here, where the governor said, you know, we don't have to wear masks anymore, you see a lot of businesses still keeping the signs up and either asking you at the door to wear a mask or trying to make you feel guilty for not wearing one. But I think we've kind of seen that that does not necessarily work. It's like my friend Dusty Markham that I work with DV Auction on. He and I both have been going to sales pretty much all year. I've traveled more in the last year than I've ever traveled in my lifetime, going to these sales. You know, a lot of sales, especially bull sales, not being able to have crowds due to mandatory restrictions on your big gatherings. And so we've been very, very busy here at DV Auction, running around putting these sales on. We have to be at the sale so we can take the online bids. And like he was saying just the other day, he said, you know, if there was anything to this, the death rate in the cattle business, cattle marketing business, would be at least 50%. As every time we go to sales, cattle sales, nobody's wearing a mask. And there's big crowds. Even a year ago, even within that first 3 or 4 months, of course I've been to sales too that were just internet only, and it was just me and the sale manager and an auctioneer, but also been to some sales, you know, pretty much during the thick of it that were, you know, very heavily attended, and a lot of people being at the sale. So I don't know. You know, I can't dictate. I know you people, and I have had to known people that's fell victim to this disease. Some of them that have died. You know, it's a bad deal, but you know, you can die and get sick all the time. But I'm just saying, we go back a year, and that's when we first started seeing the price gouging and everything that started to happen. You know, as the first time I went back and looked at that report from a year ago, first time I mentioned housewives fighting over a package of hamburger meat, things like that. Well, you go back and then your fats were $1.10, so they were about 4 or 5 bucks, 3 to 5 bucks lower than what they are now. Your feeders, an 8-weight feeder steer, was about $1.25, so about the same, about the 5 bucks, maybe a little more cheaper than what they are right now. But you know, we made it through this whole deal. We were getting into heavy weights then, and then we had to shut the slowdowns of the packing plants, and so we've been fighting to get these weights, carcass weights, back to normal. Well, finally that cold snap that happened about 3 months or 3 weeks to a month ago, that cold snap finally got them back down to normal. So we should be able to get our feet back on the ground and go on. Talk about bad storms, my gosh. The one they've had up in northern Colorado and Wyoming and some of you haven't been, maybe didn't see it or pay that much attention to it. You guys out there, my old friends out in Missouri and places like that, Iowa, they've been having big rains. Of course, this is the time of year that it rains. It's a wet season out in that country, and then you hope that you get that rain, because then hopefully it'll dry up enough where you can get the corn planted and things like that. But this past several days here in Colorado and Wyoming, I mean a bad storm. Like big time snowfalls, you know, several feet of snow, and it's been a big baby calf killer out there, just like the baby calf killer that we had in the southern plains here, like I said, 3 weeks to a month ago. And you know, places in central Texas, North Texas, Arkansas, southern Missouri, where it got so bitter cold there for many days in a row, and those guys just aren't set up to handle those cows that are calving during that. There was a lot of calves lost. Now I can't venture to guess how many, but significantly more than normal. And this bad storm here in Colorado and Wyoming, I mean blizzard type, several feet of snow and cold temperature storm, it's a calf killer too. Can't venture to say how many more, but significantly higher than normal. So, you know, that you take that into account, guys. It's going to affect our total numbers. I did have a friend of mine and said that he had heard that the Wyoming Air Guard is doing hay drops out there, and I, you know, I've heard that both ways. I've heard about storms in past years where they couldn't get to cattle to get them any hay, and they did some hay drops on there. And of course, you're going to have people complain about anything, but they said, you know, I almost wish they hadn't have dropped any hay. Those cattle would have come out of there and come up there where I could take care of them, but they dropped hay, and so they just stayed back there, and then I couldn't get them any water. You know, and things like that. But still, you know, trying to keep as many of those cows alive as they can, you know, and there's no way to get to a lot of those calves, those newborn calves that are being born right now, and there's going to be significant loss. And I tell you what, feel for the people in those affected areas. Another thing that's happening this week, we're seeing your fuel prices, gas prices up 35% since President Magoo come in. And I tell you what, our input prices are just going to start increasing and increasing, and we've had grains high enough now where all of your feed costs, commodity feed and everything, significantly higher. And we're going to need these big prices that the futures market is posting to make these cattle come out. But my gosh, if you guys look at these back months on both your fed cattle and your feeder cattle on the board, they're very handsome out there. And if you can't lock something in, you sure need to be thinking about it. Let's look at the board for Monday to open the week. Higher again after ending the week higher on Friday. I'm not criticizing the board for doing it. It's just getting so far out in front of our cash. I don't know how we're ever going to run it down, because we don't have any leverage in your fat cattle market. Nobody has any confidence in it, and your guys in the feeder cattle buying end of it don't have any confidence in your feedlots being able to get a higher cash fat cattle price. They're not getting excited about adding these prices on at the feeder level, but man, they're sure showing it on the board. And you know, maybe the cattle market's just that much better in downtown Chicago. I don't know. April live cattle futures on Monday started out the week up 12 cents at 119.12. We're working at the fat cattle market that's about 113.5, and then it's getting here on the backside of March. June up $1.35 at 121.77. Now, do any of you people have confidence that we're going to get your fat cattle market to $1.22 in 6 weeks? Whenever we have no leverage at all, and your packers just refuse to give any more than this 114 that we've been running with for 5 or 6 weeks, and really haven't even give the full 114 the last week or two. I don't know how we're going to get there. It could be fun to watch if we could maybe get it done. How about going out on your back months on live cattle futures, up 45 cents to up $1.05. Look out there at August. August is always the worst. Now, I've told you guys, April's always the best. And right now, our spot April is at 119.12 with June at $2 premium to that. That never happens. Well, what else always happens? August always sucks. Well, you look out there at August, they've got August live cattle futures at 120.82. Wow. Now, I would think, you may not be making much money at that, but I would sure be dialing up to that if I had some cattle on feed that were going to come out then, because, historically, August is one of the worst times to have fat cattle ready. You look at April out there, next April, it's sitting close to $1.30. I just don't know how, just sitting here struggling at this 113, 114 week in and week out. I just wonder how the hell we're going to get fat cattle to $1.30, and likely we're not going to. We're just going to see it out there, and as we approach it, it's going to evaporate just like a mirage, and I've been saying that way too many times here lately, but that's just the way I see it, guys. So if you've got the ability to go out there and latch onto one of them, take a hedging situation there, I would do it. Look at your feeder cattle for March. March, right here. They're going to have to meet up here within just a few business days. And we've got March feeder cattle up 67 on Monday at 137.02. You can't get 137 for an 800-pound steer. You can't get 137 for a load or several loads of 800-pound steers. They won't bring it. I don't care how good they are. You just can't get it. Maybe on a deal where you get a farmer feeder involved somewhere in a premium type sale, maybe the cattle have some bells and whistles, you might touch it once. But as a whole, you can't do it, guys. And, we've got an index level sitting at 133, 134, but your 800-pound cattle won't bring it. It's more because some of these 7-weight cattle are bringing that much more, and it's averaging out to be that high. But I don't know who thinks that we can get that. Look at April feeder cattle up 70 on Monday at 143.92. Right there at 144 next month. $10 higher than what cattle are bringing right now. I'm anxious to see it. Let's look at your out fronts there on feeder cattle, up 32 to up $1.35 for your May contract. I'm really telling you guys right now, if you're going to turn cattle out this summer, I've been saying it, but that's what I'm here to do, is try to give you guys some direction. Look at those late summer and fall contracts. August is at 157.85. October's at 158.25. Now, if you've got some cattle in that 700 to 900 pound range to sell at that time, I would be hedging them or getting them contracted or doing something, buying a put out there, doing something to offset that. That is a fantastic price. If you've got access to grazing, some grass to turn out, some pasture somewhere, you can sit right in there and buy some stocker cattle, some 550 to 650 pound stocker cattle, cheapen them up a little bit with some smaller deals, get some cattle that's got some growth to them. You can get those bought in the 160s and then put that cheap gain on them from 45 to 60 cents, depending on how much it's costing you to turn those cattle out. You can make good money doing that. It's not very often that you see an opportunity right in front of you to make good money doing that. Interest is cheap. If you know what you're doing, or you know somebody you can trust to put those cattle together for you, and if you got access to pasture to run on this summer, that's an excellent opportunity there right in your face. Let's talk about your weighted average on last week's fed cattle movement out of your 5-area feeding region. 82,000 head. That's pretty impressive, actually. We haven't had that for quite a while. That compares to 68,700 head, 107,900 last week, and that's right before we started getting into the plants having a problem keeping themselves open due to the COVID, and it's going to look really scary as we start looking at year-ago values here as we go forward the next several weeks. But 82,000 and a lot of cattle bought and put into captive supplies through contracting, through formula deals, through basis trades. These packers, I mean, this is scaring them to death, trying to get as many cattle bought up for the next 2 or 3 months as they possibly can, because they're looking at what at lighter numbers of market ready cattle. They're looking at what's forecasted out there on your board. They don't want to have to pay that kind of money, so they're buying up as many as they are, and guys that have cattle on feed are laying right down for them, taking the deals and promising them cattle over the next 6 months or 6 weeks, 2 or 3 months out. That's just what they always do. Let's talk about your prices for live steers and heifers last week in your 5-area feeding region. 110 to 115, but mostly 113 to 114, and your weighted average on live steers was 113.62. Steady, almost exactly steady, down 2 cents per hundredweight from the previous week, but just off just a little bit, and that is likely just because we had a few positive sales there on Friday after we saw so much of that basis trade, $2 or $3 over your spring board there for delivery over the next 2 or 3 months. How about dress prices, steers and heifers? 178 to 184, but mostly 178 to 180, and that was steady to $2 lower. We didn't have significant numbers at 182 like we had the previous 2 weeks. Your weighted average on dress steers 179.32, down 47 cents. Nationwide, that was in your 5-area feeding region. Nationwide, we sold 92,600 head negotiated, 262,100 head formula. But of the negotiated 92,600, about 23% of those, or 21,400 of them, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. That just plays right into your packers' hands. If they want to buy cattle from you for 2 to 4 week delivery, you make them give you more than the market. How about box beef cutout values on Monday? We don't always talk about them, but they've been falling significantly. 224.77 on choice cuts Monday afternoon. That was down $1.10. Selects down 222 at 218.05. Now they should shore up here within probably this week, if not this week, sometime early next week, because we're going to see those retailers putting in big orders because spring is coming. And I know you guys that are buried in the snow up there don't know it, but man, we've had some beautiful weather down here in the southern plains, albeit with wind, but did have some tornadoes. And actually right here in Canyon, I wasn't in town, but talked to several people that saw the tornadoes and some people that saw some damage. Good friend of mine lost a pivot sprinkler in it, but that kind of stuff happens in the spring of the year. But the tornado missed a whole lot more than what it hit in the Canyon area between Canyon and Happy, right in here where we've kind of been used to tornadoes. Not so much the last several years. It seems like the weather's moving to the north and east. We used to get more rain in this part of the country. Now we get that dry weather that they used to have southwest of us in New Mexico, and they get all the storms over in Oklahoma and over into parts of Missouri and Arkansas than what we did 20, 30 years ago, and that's what it looks like to me anyway. Let's talk about your things that are going on. Don't forget Wednesday, if you can make it to Fallon, Nevada, to Nevada Livestock Marketing, Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. Going to be there, going to give a talk about the condition of your commercial cattle market and the status, what's going on. Talk a little bit or quite a bit about the Deb Fisher Bill, Cattle Market Transparency Act. If you can make it, doesn't cost anything. Don't have to tell anybody you're coming. Just show up. They got something for you to eat and something for you to drink. How about your feeder cattle market? Your real-time index on DB auction late in the day on Monday at 133 1/4. That was down just 3 cents, so basically steady. Had some markets that were higher, had some markets that were lower. Basically moved your 700 to 900 pound feeder steers through there at a steady pace. And in the futures market can go up all at once. People are only going to give what they're going to give for cattle. And so it can just keep going up there. And like they said, if they can get 137 or more than that for 800-pound steers in downtown Chicago, more power to them, but you can't get it done anywhere else. How about some of your big sales on Monday? Oklahoma National Stockyards, Oklahoma City, 9,000 head. Same week a year ago, 1,200. So that's where we started seeing that pandemic kick in. Your feeder steers were $2 to $3 higher in Oklahoma City compared to last week. But we did see some prices higher late in the week last week, so it was kind of owed to them a little bit. Calves and heifers steady to $3 higher. Pretty good market there on 9,000 head, and they got done in good time. How about Joplin Regional Stockyards? 5,500 head. They only estimated 4,000, so people are still bringing more cattle in than what they were expecting. All classes in Joplin pretty much steady. How about going further up north? Russell, Iowa, Russell Livestock, 4,300 head there compared to 2 weeks ago. Calves there were mostly lower. Some of your feeders were steady to $3 higher, and the higher was mostly on the heifers. So people aren't falling all over themselves for these feeder cattle by any stretch of the imagination. But impressive quotes at a big premium sale like Russell, Iowa. Look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. Your best tested weights there. On steers, 903 head of 7-weight steers averaged 760 at 140, 137. 726 head of 8-weight steers in Russell averaged 838 at 130, 220. The biggest stretch on your heifers was 6-weight heifers. 545 head of them averaged 656 at 135.24. That's the best sale that I saw anywhere. Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. Jack Harrison and company there, they had 1,600 head compared to just 556 head same week a year ago, but had the best quote that I saw anywhere. And your Zach Tran top quote for the day was 120 steers in Callaway weighed 913 pounds at $131. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.